The Senate voted 97-1 Thursday to ban so-called cop-killer bullets, which can penetrate bulletproof vests. The measure now goes to the House, which passed a similar bill last year.
Now is the time for Helter Skelter. With those words, in the summer of 1969, Charles Manson set into motion a wave of terror in Southern California. In 2 nights, Manson's murderous spree took the lives of at least 7 people, including actress Sharon Tate and her unborn baby. The cult, or family, spoke of launching a holy war against the rich and the powerful. Many of its members were heavy users of hallucinogenic drugs, mainly LSD. The killings were bizarre and merciless. They triggered a public panic and raised the specter of drug-crazed youths slaughtering their victims at random. The Tate LaBianca murders abruptly ended an era that's remembered today for its flower children, Beatles music, and make love, not war slogans. Who was Charles Manson? Manson was portrayed as a guitar-playing ex-convict with a following of runaway young women, his so-called family members. He was described as either a demented messiah, a psychopathic killer, or a man who controlled the minds of weaker followers. Testimony revealed that while Manson was not present at the home of director Roman Polanski the night of the murders, he planned and ordered the deaths of Sharon Tate and her guests. Americans also learned Manson was born out of wedlock to a 16-year-old prostitute in Cincinnati, Ohio. His childhood years were a series of foster homes. By 1969, Manson had served more than half his life in reform schools or prisons. He had been convicted of forgery, homosexual rape, and car theft. On April 17, 1971, Manson was sentenced to death for 7 counts of murder in the first degree. A trial later that year found him guilty of 2 more counts of murder. Because of a change in state law, the death penalty was commuted to life in prison. Manson is now serving that sentence at San Quentin.
So, Rose, how are you?
How are you?
I've been watching you on the tube.
What do you think?
Everything. Nothing.
You sit here.
How's your day going?
Day's going nice. The weather here is much better than the weather in Washington, D.C. We left 4 inches of snow. And I got out here and they said this is record warm temperatures.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous. I've been locked up in the hole a long time. So for me to come out of that cell is a whole brand new experience.
And what's the prison routine like for you?
I sit in my cell 24 hours a day.
Do you read?
No.
Why not?
Well, I found my thoughts are more interesting than anything I can read.
Watch any television?
Occasionally.
What do you watch?
I watch, I spin it around a lot. I watch a little bit of everything.
Listen to radio?
When I have one, yeah.
Have any friends you talk to?
I'm friend to everything I see, everything I know, everything I feel.
What about other inmates?
I'm brother in these hallways for 40 years with no snitching on my jacket, no asking for nobody to protect me, and walking on my own 2 feet.
You get a lot of mail.
Yeah.
What do they say? Those letters.
Everybody's playing a different game with the thought. They're playing boats and planes and trains and rabbits and ducks and swings and hearts and little girls and everything that you can think of. When we started the Rainbow, all the thoughts that go with the seed grows up from the ground. Everything that grows starts and grows up. You go down in the earth to plant something, and you plant these seeds, and this garden grows. It's the same thing with the garden that's in the mind.
I want to talk about that, but let me stay with the routine, the facts of your life for a while. What about the scorpions? You make scorpions?
I make little things out of string.
Where do you send them?
Everywhere. Wherever they fit.
Does somebody pay you for them?
No.
Why scorpions?
Well, it's not only scorpions. I make all kinds of things. You know, scorpions is just one of the things that I happen to make. I'm spiritually allied with the scorpion and the wolf. See, spiritualism scares you people because you've got this little stereotype church that you're buying and selling, and you're trying to put God in a building. But God is much bigger than that little church. You know, and spiritualism is a lot more than they put in libraries and books.
Yeah, most religious people know that.
Yeah. Well, I'm allied with certain awarenesses of the desert, you know.
What do you miss most being in that cell?
I miss having my music because some egomaniac wants to feel important, and they keep my music away from me.
Your music is your guitar.
Yeah.
Well, they say if they give you a guitar, they got to give everybody a guitar.
That's an excuse. That's a total cop-out. I got a big jealous snake I have to deal with every day. A big, inadequate, incompetent, jealous snake that has no mind, that has no soul.
Is that a person?
It just wound up with money. You could pay him to walk backwards. You buy them and sell them. They're in Wall Street.
When we sit here and talk to you, people wonder, where did Charlie Manson come from? What are your earliest memories?
I come from the heart of Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra.
But what does that mean?
Tom Mix.
Those were the people that you listened to as a child?
Yeah, Roosevelt. I come from the hills of Kentucky. I come from hard times, bologna for Sunday dinner. I come from the Depression.
You come from not knowing your father?
I know my father. My father's all men.
Yeah, but your biological father you don't know.
Section 8. All the discharged men of the Second World War raised me. Ferguson was an ensign in the Navy. He raised me. All the guys that came back from the war raises all the kids that are locked up in prisons.
What about your mother?
Mother is the icebox. Yeah. She's the penitentiary. One of my first recollections is walking in Moundsville State Prison, West Virginia. Big gray stone place. And I come to visit my mom. She was doing time there.
For what?
Strong-arm robbery. Trying to make some food, put some food on the table and give me an operation when I was a child.
That's your first, one of your earliest memories?
Yeah, I remember that. That was a...
Are there happy memories?
I don't have that.
You don't have that?
I don't have that yin and yang that you do.
Is that yin yang?
Yeah. In other words, you can't make me unhappy.
Are sad memories, though, growing up?
I don't have all that.
Yeah. You do have it. You have an experience. You're an individual, one human being with experiences.
When you leave, go get a big rock and set it on a table.
Yeah.
I'm that rock on the table.
Charles Manson has any roots at all, they are in the penal system. He had spent more than 20 years in correctional facilities even before the Tate LaBianca killings. For him, then, the jail cell is the stable home he never knew. Some say his life is a monument to parental neglect and the failure of our prison systems. We talk more of Manson's early years in this part of our interview.
When you were 16, you were out on your own? You were making money on your own?
Yeah, but
you
when
were in trouble with the law?
Yeah, but you got to realize, when I was 16, it's not like people that you would think is 16.
Why is that?
Well, a person that's raised on the street at 16 years old is generally about 55 in their minds.
Because they see so many experiences so quick.
You know, they've been through more life and death situations, and they've been through 10 times more than the average person sitting there doing what their mother says, going back and forwards to school. In other words, life is not in a school book.
Yeah. Do you want to look back at that early period of your life and before the 60s and say, boy, something went wrong because I got on this track and I was in and out of prison, and I went to foster homes, and then my mother would take me, then I'd go see my grandmother, then I'd go back and see my mother, and then she would run away, and somehow. Did that shape you? Did it make a difference?
Well, see, that doesn't even compute in my world, because, there is no wrong.
There's no wrong?
I don't do any wrong. I wouldn't do anything that was wrong. If I did something that I would regret, then I would punish myself for it. And I wouldn't stand here and beat myself in the head with a hammer. That wouldn't make much sense.
Yeah.
So you got a parallel universe. You got two worlds. One world, everything is a lie, and everything is wrong, and you can never do anything right. According to anybody else, I've never done anything right. There's always been someone to say that I wasn't right and I did it wrong.
Yeah.
But in the world that I live in, I've never made a bad move in my whole life.
In the world you have lived in,
sure,
you would not rewrite any episode, you would not change anything, you do not look back and say, my God, I took a wrong turn there.
No.
None of it?
No. No.
Not once?
I wouldn't be here if I'd had it. So you got to realize there's no slack in my act.
Yeah.
I don't have I can't. In other words, you go down to St. Louis,
right,
and you get off the bus and you're broke. Right. You go to the phone and call Moms.
Right.
I don't. I go to the alley and get a tire iron.
And do what?
And whatever I got to do to survive. That's what I do.
And so what's the difference in you and me then?
Because you don't know how to survive. You're weak. You have emotions. You play little games with your mind. You chase your tail.
Yeah, but you have said before about your life that you needed love, and you needed family, and you needed friends, and that's the one thing that every man needs.
No, you misunderstood. I never said anything like that. You might paraphrase what I said into thinking I said something like that. Everything is love. There's nothing that isn't love. Even the confusion is love in one form or another. It's misguided. Love is a word that we use to supplement for God, or I would rather use the word intelligence. If you're going to use the word love, use the word intelligence. Because love is misunderstood in so many different ways and fashions.
Do you need to be loved?
Loved. I am loved.
By whom?
I am loved.
Are you loved?
I am loved.
Are you loved?
All the way.
Okay.
I'm around the world with it. Ain't you seen it? 15 times. Standing in the fire with it, man.
Meaning what?
Meaning I'm taking up all the slack for you. I'm carrying you around, Nixon. Yeah. I still got you. Hey, Regan, hey, Ronnie, I didn't tell him that was your gun that shot that guy. I didn't tell him that gun came out of that trailer that came over there. I held my butt on you, Ronnie, old crime partner.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm saying? In other words, I'm intertwined in your very soul, man. You give me my rights. My father died in the battlefields for my rights. Then I go down to L.A. and some district attorney wants to get rich and make a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's got something that's selling good. He dumps it over on me. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's only one poor guy down here. He's nobody. And they overlook the fact that I had already been brother in this penitentiary for 22 years. I speak big in that yard out there.
But did they overlook that fact or not?
Sure, they overlooked it.
Well, how did they overlook it?
They took my rights, man.
Yeah.
You don't take my rights. You'd rumble the graveyard from here to the unknown soldier.
But you respect power, and the system works this way. The state has power, and if, in fact, you violate the laws of the state, they have the power to put you away.
Sure.
You respect that?
Sure. I did for 22 years.
That's right.
That's why I'm mad. That's why I'm mad. I held that up. When I was a child, I used to be crying and bitching, and the old man said, "You do the crime, boy?" And I'd say, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, shut up and do your time."
In this part of our interview with convicted murderer Charles Manson, we talk about the influence of Haight-Ashbury. He met the gentle folk there, the hippies at the height of flower power. He started collecting a harem of young, impressionable women. The group later developed into his family, the family that was responsible for the Tate LaBianca murders. All this began to develop when Manson was freed from prison in 1967 and lingered in San Francisco.
So when I get back out and your kids pick me up out of the street and pick me up out of the garbage can, all I want is the little girls. I love them little girls. I'm following them little girls around. I ain't got no thought in my mind about nothing.
Right.
I'm not trying to stop nobody. I'm playing music. I'm free. It took me 22 years to get out of this hallway.
This was Haight-Ashbury, 1967.
Yeah. They picked me up. They said, kid, 16-year-old kid. I said, where do you sleep? He said, where I lay down? I said, well, don't you have to have an apartment? He said, no, I sleep in the park. I said, how do you do that? He said, sleeping bag. I said, is that right? What do you eat? He said, food. I said, man, where do you get it? He said, wherever I can. I said, don't you have a job? And he laughed at me. He said, no, I went out to Diggers.
Yeah.
So I went down and I looked around and I said, hey, this is love here.
Yeah.
This is love here.
The best time of your life.
Yeah. It was the only time in my life. I never had no life before that. It's always been in here with these guys, man. It's always been in jail. I never had no life outside. I've been locked up since I was 9 years old.
I know,
man.
but now you're in 1967, you're in Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco.
I got out. I'm free. I'm free.
You're free.
I got better sense than break the law, man. I'm not going to break no law. If you break the law, you put yourself in jail.
You're at Haight-Ashbury, and what's the magnetism of you? Why did they come to you? Why were they attracted to you?
Well,
those young girls that you were looking for.
All right, here's the thing. In the penitentiary, you learn this.
All right.
Don't lie. Don't lie, man. If someone catches you in a lie, you leave yourself over to get snuffed. And all my life, I've lived in the eye that tell the truth. Pay your debts. Don't get involved in other people's business. Do your number, do your time. And you learn to stand on your own. So I'm walking, I'm standing on my own. People see me standing on my own. Not too many people in your world can do that. But I don't realize that at that particular time. I don't realize how weak and mindless you people are. See, I'm judging you by the people in here.
And you're at Haight-Ashbury, and you meet these young women, young girls,
young people,
and you're playing a guitar, and everything is happy, and there's a lot of love, and you're not lying to them. You're just singing songs, and they're coming to you. What's going on? What's happening?
The world is happening. The war was going on. Yeah. All the children wanted to stop the war.
Yeah.
They wanted peace on earth.
Yeah.
And they come to me and they says, well, we want this, this, and this. And I said, okay. And they said, let's go demonstrate. And I said, no, I'm not going to go demonstrate. I'm not going to go get put in jail. And they said, well, wouldn't you give your love to stop the war? And wouldn't you give your love to save the world? I said, would you give your love to save the world? And they said, yeah. I said, well, how much would you give to save the world? And they said, we would give all. I'll lay my body down. You dig? I give all to save the world. I said, well, if that's you, then you can do that. But I just gave 22 years of my life, and I'm not going back in there for God or nobody else. So if you want to do that, that's your road.
What was it like for you? Was there...
I passed through Haight-Ashbury.
Yeah.
I threw my pistol off of that bridge over there.
You did?
Yeah.
Because...
I got tired of carrying pistols.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I don't need to shoot anybody, so I threw the pistol over.
But this was the best time of your life, you said. You had a family of people that loved you. A lot of girls you liked.
I didn't say, you say, I didn't say people loved
I'm only
me,
asking. I'm only asking.
I say the people were loved. That was love. It was happening there.
Yeah.
That was happening. But you got to realize I came in on the end of that.
Right.
And I only went through that. I never got stuck up in that.
Yeah.
Because I seen the pitfalls. I seen the speed freaks.
Yeah.
I seen the falling of it. I seen it falling. I'm very aware when it comes to seeing things.
You were an ex-con and you were wary.
I'm not going to get busted or go to jail again. Yeah. That was my thought. So I used to hold this up saying, one positive thought. Yeah. I'll never go back to jail again because I'll never break the law again.
So you had a family, though?
I had a family. See, there you go.
A family had you. A family had you. But you were trying to make it suggest I'm saying this, and I'm saying, did you or did you not?
No, I never thought of a family. I don't hang on to people, man.
Right.
I've never had anybody I hold on to. Why not even in my mind?
Our interview with Charles Manson continues in the next half hour. When we return, Manson talks about the infamous Manson family and those terrible 2 nights of murder in August 1969. Stay with us. Nightwatch continues. 8th sentence. He was denied parole in that same room last month for the 6th time. In this part of our interview, we began discussing the murders and the members of his so-called family. We spoke about his relationship with some of the others who took part in the killings. Both Charles Tex Watson and Susan Atkins were among the 4 Manson followers convicted of 7 counts of murder. They are all serving life sentences.
You say there was no family. There was no Manson family. There was a group of people that were having a good time. They say you told them, the leader business, you told them to go murder. That's what they testify.
No.
Did Watson testify to that?
No.
Did Watson say that?
No.
Did he write a book and say that?
He may have said it in his book after he convinced himself of it.
Yeah, he did.
But he said this basically, this is what I thought Charlie wanted me to do.
Yeah.
See, what happens when you're dealing in the street and you're dealing in life and death? Life and death is going by you like this every day.
Right.
There's a guy with a knife.
But you're not dealing in the street. You're up in the mountains playing a guitar.
This is where my thought is running, see? You guys sit down, you compute all this, and you know, this all, but to me this goes by, like I may face life and death situations 4 times a day, like it was dust on my shoulder, you dig? So Tex has a little problem, he has a little problem, he gives me a gun, he can't deal with it, I have to go deal with his problem.
Which is?
I have to go shoot somebody for him. Because he's too much of a coward, and he's laying up underneath the bed with it.
Who'd you shoot?
I had to shoot lots of Papa.
Who?
Some guy down in the drug world. I had to go down and take care of some business that was not my business. So Tex owed me one. So when I come back and I say, see, you got me in trouble. Every time I stand up for you, brother, I got to face your life and your death. You dig? I'm tired of carrying you on my back. And I threw the gun. I said, now you owe me one. And if you don't pay me when you owe me, then I'm going to pay you what you owe me. You see what I'm saying? In other words, I have to go into another person and put on another face and come back and play, you know.
I understand. So you say to Tex, you owe me one.
That's right. So then when my brother gets busted and my brother's in jail, then I tell Tex, pay him what you owe me. Well, I said, don't tell me nothing. I don't want to hear nothing. I'm not part of no conspiracy. I'm not breaking no laws. You dig what I'm saying? I'm not getting involved in nothing. However you do it, you do it. I don't care how you do it, but don't bring it to me. I just come back and say, sir, I got a traffic ticket.
But that's not what they say.
Who's they? Who's they said that?
Susie Atkins.
No, Susan Atkins never said I said do anything except do what Tex said. And I did say that. I said, Susie, you owe me? She says, yeah. I said, you remember the 3 dudes I fought for you? She said, yeah. I said, remember that other dude I cut his ears off for you?
Yeah.
She says, yeah. I said, well, then pay that to Tex. Don't bother me with it.
All right. After you knew what that had happened at Sharon Tate's, the most brutal murder that people were aware of. Not that there's not a lot of other brutality around, but this got attention. What'd you think?
Well, I looked over in Vietnam and I said...
No, what'd you think about Sharon Tate and her unborn baby?
What did I think about it?
Yeah.
It's not my world. I don't live in that world.
Well, so you didn't care?
Care?
So, suppose Tex...
What the hell does that mean, care?
Well, it means love. That means some sense
Put me in a solitary confinement, break my teeth out, break my ribs, brush me up, kick me down a hole, and then come back and tell me about care. I don't know what care is, man.
You said to Tex, you owe me one. Tex goes out and commits this atrocious, horrendous, horrible crime.
It's atrocious from where you're looking.
It's atrocious where anybody looks.
No. I look over at my lane, and I see those guys running through there, and I say, good job, man.
You didn't say that.
I would have if I'd have been the general in that. You better believe I would have said it.
You would have said, good for you for killing those people at my line?
Man, when you're in war, mister.
Okay, but what does war have to do with Sharon Tate's murder?
What's it got to do with any murder?
But then you said one more death, it doesn't matter.
Wait, they picked up they wanted to stop the war. You don't make no change without bloodshed.
Yeah. You didn't feel any remorse because maybe Tex misunderstood you if you accept that link. I didn't mean for you to do that, Tex.
All right. Let me cool down a little.
Okay.
How you doing today?
All right.
Good. You got a girl.
Right.
She lays her bridge over troubled waters and all that. She's buying a stairway to someplace, but her welfare check didn't come in. She's got all these things in her head. She's willing to die for this. And she comes and she says, this is my station in life. I'm an angel. I have a cause. This is what I was destined to do. She decides she wants to get up on this road and do this. I tell her, do you realize now that you're only taking your own life? And she says, yes. Yeah. How could I have remorse for her love's giving to the world? On the altar of that, I wouldn't hide it. I would say, that's beautiful. But to those who cannot give in the word love, they would hide it and say, oh, how terrible it is. But ask the Ayatollah when his young son goes out there and gets his legs blown off, or someone dies for something they believe in to die and martyr themselves into forever, you dig? Then someone that can't see that as being love, they turn around and call it dirty. And they call it nasty, and then they make their children into be criminals and crooks, and then they hide them up underneath the thing. But let me explain this to you. In that life there, as these men will tell you here,
right,
people hang themselves on the ventilator in the cell next to me every day.
And nobody outside of where you live can understand that and can relate to that, because it's a life they don't know and will never know.
Because they don't care. I do.
Right.
But they'll turn that around and they'll say that I don't care, that they do. And then they'll say, we'll go help the misused children.
All right. Let me
finish that thought. They said, we're going to help the misused children. I said, well, if you're going to help the abused children, what about these penitentiaries across the country? Aren't they abused children too? Or did you forget those?
Oh, Charlie Manson then was an abused child.
Every man in the penitentiary.
Well, we're not talking about every man. We're talking about you. I mean, so you look now at that life you've lived and you say, man, that was an abused life. And that was a man, you made him into what he became because you beat on him and you pushed him, right?
Okay.
That's your...
So in your world, you could take a slice of a pen and write it on a piece of paper and destroy 200,000 people, and it's okay.
Well, not me.
Because you don't have to see it.
Yeah.
It's all right because you don't have, you know...
Okay, but was it okay? Was that murder okay because you didn't see it?
Murder? There's no murder.
There was
a
murder of Sharon Tate. Come on.
There's no murder in the Holy War, man.
Was that what? It had nothing to do with it. Was it a holy war?
This
was Sharon Tate's murder a holy war?
The whole thing is a holy war. Wait a minute. Because you want to draw a line and say this is crime and this ain't crime.
No, I don't want to join the lines. I just want to speak about the specific instance of that murder for which you're in this place now.
All right. Say what you have to say.
I'm asking.
Asking what?
Was that murder?
Was it murder?
Sharon Tate?
No. Was it murder?
Sharon Tate?
No.
More with Charles Manson in just a moment. Stay with us. We continue. But we also explored the link of his family to the era of hippies, peace, love, and flower power.
Who is Charlie Manson?
Charlie Manson's whoever he's allowed to be, whoever you make out of him, I guess.
And what of those people who say, monster?
What you see, what you get.
But do you like it?
Man, they have to live with it. I don't. You live with your judgments. I live with mine.
Perception. The most horrible crimes were committed at his direction, and therefore
you come back to the same premise. You come back to the same premise.
I'm just talking about self-image now. You don't like it? Do you not like it? Do you care about it? The fact that people, somehow, there is something called the Manson mystique in the world now.
All right. Your name is Sam Smith and you're from Idaho. Now, what's your self-image? You know you're not Sam Smith and you know you're not from Idaho.
Right.
Well, now, how matter? I can scream and yell and I can tell the whole world, here's Sam Smith from Idaho. And you still know in your heart that you're not Sam Smith.
So what are you in your heart then, if you know you're not that?
I did not direct nobody to be killed, man.
All right. Who told Watson et al. To go commit those murders?
The lawyers.
Okay, well, we're not going to go anywhere on that.
All right. Well, you want me to explain it? It's a simple thing.
What is the simple thing?
Everybody that's a crook learns this, that you cannot trust a lawyer.
Okay.
Especially a criminal lawyer. You can't trust them.
Oh, so you're saying the defense lawyers did it?
No, I'm saying if we had a place to go, we wouldn't have to go to violence. But when you got no place to go, and your children can't find a father in your system, and you lay down and you say, can I get some help? And they won't give you no help. And you get stepped on in the face, and then pretty soon you say, well, what can we do here?
So violence is the only option we have.
Only change. Wait a minute. For that generation, you must realize I am not in that generation, man.
But you were part of it.
What do you mean? I just got out of the penitentiary.
Yeah, but you got involved in it, right?
I got involved in what?
You were involved with that generation of young people.
No more than anybody else on the street corner.
Do you believe the Tate LaBianca murders had anything to do with sort of ending the period of the 60s, creating a
Yeah, it was the peak of the love that was running. Why don't we do it in a row? No one will be watching us. And it's banging 24 hours a day. I didn't write that music.
Okay.
Take it to the Queen of England. Ask her why she's sending her kids over here ducking from that Hindu pimp that's coming out of that New Delhi penitentiary. See, there's a lot more in the world than you know about, see?
Boy, there's a lot that...
Sure there is. Sure there is. Sure there is.
What do you say to those people who say Charlie Manson, he's a psychopath?
So,
okay, it doesn't bother you.
No, there's a whole lot of us nowadays.
That he hates people. That he's full of hatred.
Right. Yeah,
are you full of hatred?
No. As is it.
Okay.
In other words, I see that human beings aren't worth too much as a whole.
That he's schizophrenic.
Yeah, I can be that.
You are that.
Sure, I can. Well, aren't we all?
Yeah, well...
You know, they put you in the middle of the yard, I bet you change your personality.
I'm sure it would.
Yeah.
But you keep coming back to that, that they did this to me because they put me in the pen.
I didn't say they. I'm not blaming nobody for anything, man. I'm not pushing no rocks around.
If you're going to write a song today, what would it be?
You better bow down, disco. I'm going to take your heart away.
More?
I got nothing behind me.
You need a guitar to do it, huh?
Yeah.
You don't think of yourself.
I don't think of myself. You're right.
And secondly, you don't think of yourself the way these other people do, as this monster that...
I think of myself as whatever I have to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, see, here's what's interesting about you. Listen to me 1 second. Here's this guy who most of us believe, because of the trial, and you believe we were had by the DA, but most of us believe you did suggest, direct, because of the influence you had on those people to do those murders. And the next night, the LaBianca. And it has created this notion of you. You are one of the most infamous criminals, cons
of all time.
In the world.
I don't think you guys have seen me.
Really?
No.
What don't we understand?
You don't understand yourselves.
No, but what don't we understand about you? I grant you we don't understand ourselves, but what don't we understand about you?
Just what I said. I'm inside of you, man.
Yeah.
I live inside of you. I'm inside every one of you.
And to say that suggests that what? You being evil is inside of all of us?
Life.
Yeah.
Evil. It's beyond good and evil, man. It's a balance. It's averaxis. It's the Pope roller skating.
Yeah.
He keeps one hand on the table all the time. He never tells you he's running numbers on. He's got the dice in his hand.
Yeah, but
like we all know that. We should by now.
What do you think about the idea of responsibility? Taking responsibility for your own actions?
I do. The court ran for me. Sure. Now let me ask you a question.
All right.
How comes the court shirked and turned their backs on me and wouldn't give me my rights?
They gave you your rights.
Rights in what direction? I didn't even get to put on defense.
Yeah.
When it come to defense time, they said, we're taking too long, and this covered it up and told the public another outburst, another Manson outburst.
Yeah. If you...
What defense did I put on? What witness did I call? Did I call one witness? I never got to call one witness.
You will not find any group of people who will not believe, don't believe that Charles Manson got a fair trial.
And human rights are over in Russia. We won't look at Charles Manson. We'll just cover that up. We won't look at the fact that we've had a 9-year-old kid locked up and blaming him for everything we did since 1943, will we?
When we return, the conclusion of our interview with Charles Manson at San Quentin. Responsibility for the Tate LaBianca murders. There is no regret, no sign of remorse. How did Manson bend others to his will? At the end of our conversation, Manson's forcefulness, anger, and sense of theater all come to play. We talked about his followers and where they came from.
I live in another world.
Okay.
I was raised up that you don't get involved in other people's business.
Okay.
If they're doing something, that's them. They got to ride that beef. That's a jailhouse law. Ride your own beef, do your own time. And I've done that all my life. If Tex goes off and he kills 8 or 10 people and Bobby comes back and says, I killed him, I said, man, don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear it, It's none of my affair.
And you don't even care, you said.
Care?
You didn't care. I know. I know. We've been through that.
Yeah.
You've been through that. What is the relationship between Charlie Manson and young people?
I am your young people.
There are people who fear you. You like that?
True love
Fear
casts
means
out
power.
Love casts out all fear. If you're afraid of me, there's something wrong with you.
Not me, but
Yeah,
there are
that's what
people
I'm saying,
who are fearful of you.
Well, then they got to work that out for themselves.
They shouldn't be.
That's up to them. I don't, what can I do?
We haven't talked about one thing. I got to go, but I want to talk about this, about religion and God. Do you believe, Susie Atkins and Tex Watson have become born-again Christians?
Sure.
What do you think of that?
We were born-again Christians before we got
You
busted.
believe in a God?
Sure.
That's not you.
Well, sure it's me.
Under what circumstances would you look into the eye of a camera like that and say, look, I want to take responsibility
For the world that I live in.
No. Okay, for the world you live in.
The world that I live in. I got no choice.
Yeah.
I got peace. But until everybody's got peace, I can't have peace. In other words, I got you. But I can't have it until everybody else gets you. And then when everybody else gets through with it, then I'll get you.
You said that your book would not be published for whatever reason.
then
I don't know anything about that. But here, if you, in fact, in the last question, when you're going to meet your God, and when you know you're down to those last few remaining breaths, are you still going to say what you said to me, or are you going to say...
I've lived my whole life right in that spot.
Okay. So if it all ended tomorrow...
It did end tomorrow.
All right. Suppose it ends tomorrow for some reason.
It does.
You would go to your death saying, you got me all wrong, I didn't do it.
Yeah, see what I'm saying?
Well, wait a minute, Paula, answer that, because you've been very responsive. Would you go to your death saying, I didn't do it, I had nothing to do with those murders, and you put me here, and I didn't deserve it?
I didn't say I didn't have anything to do with them. I didn't. You misunderstand.
Tell me what you're saying about it. If it's your last will and testament, what are you saying?
You got a circle, man, that man lives inside of. He lives inside this circle. He's responsible for this circle, and this circle only. You can take that to the House of the Rising Sun in Japan, the samurai. You can take that to the Second World War. You can take it and hang it on a cross. You can kill me 1,000 times, but it's still there. It makes no difference whether I'm in the circle or not. It's still there. What this man does outside that circle is none of my business. But if he comes up to the circle, I'm going to go, stay out of my circle. If you don't stay out of my circle, you're with your own life here. Your own life, man. Can't you see it's your life? It's not mine. I'm just another guy walking down the road going, how many times I got to go, where's God at? She goes, I've got a face and a principle. What is it? You want me to be everything to everybody. You want me to face all your fears and all your debts. You want me to die again for you. You want me to go to the gas chamber and walk in and say, all right, preacher on one side and priest on the other side, and they say, I'm the son of God, and they say, we know, son, go in and sit down. Give us your life again. And I say, I give you my life because I think you're taking care of the kids. But then I get out from the gas chamber and I go and I look at the kids. You're not taking care of the kids. You're feeding on them. You're drunk on their blood, man. I'm an old man. All I want to do is retire. Get on the desert and be left alone. I don't want to bother nobody. I'm hiding out underneath the rock. They come to me and say, hey, Charlie, hi. I said, what do you want? So you want to talk? I said, about what? We got problems. The water's dying. Your water's dying. Your life is in that cup. Your water's dying. Your trees are dying. Your wildlife's locked up in zoos. You're in a zoo, man. How do you feel about it? How do you feel? How do you feel that your children would do something like that? How do you feel that an ex-convict would get out of jail and go find rocket scientist children out in the garbage cans? Go home. I can't. My mother, my father won't let me. They're drunks. They hate me. I'm responsible for your children. You won't be responsible for... How do you feel about those murderers? How do you feel about them? That's what counts. Happen in your world, not mine. Not in my circle, because I wouldn't allow it.
But listen, those people that died never violated your circle.
I didn't have anything to do with those people that died. But son, how many times I got to tell you they died in Vietnam, they died in Korea. I didn't have nothing to do with that. I never told nobody, you go over and kill those people out in Oscar. I said like this, be responsible for your own actions, man.
Anybody who watches this tape is going to see the things that you have said and hear the things that you have said. And they also are going to say, that man is mentally sick. And what do you say to that?
When you take a negative from a picture and you hold it up to the light, you don't see the light, you see the negative. So what you think in your mind as you look at me is how you're judging yourself in the world. This guy here was written down in the scriptures long before I got here.
You think you'll ever leave prison?
Prison? I left prison in 67. I got out of jail.
Yeah, but you're back.
Can't you see I'm out, man? Can't you see I'm out? Can't you see I'm free?